In a shocking twist, Australian comedy fans were left reeling after beloved podcast duo Tommy Dassalo and Carl Chandler announced the abrupt end of their popular show, The Little Dum Dum Club with Tommy and Carl, following a messy and very public friendship fallout. The pair, who had been delivering laughs for 14 years, took to social media this week to reveal that not only is their long-running podcast coming to a close, but their personal and professional relationship has deteriorated beyond repair. With confessions, accusations, and legal tensions bubbling to the surface, this dramatic split has left fans wondering what went wrong behind the scenes of one of Australia's most cherished comedy podcasts. For over a decade, Tommy Dassalo, 38, and Carl Chandler, 48, brought joy to thousands of listeners through their comedic banter and genuine chemistry on The Little Dum Dum Club. But behind the laughter, trouble had been brewing. On Wednesday, Dassalo took to X, formerly Twitter, with a heartfelt post detailing the end of the duo's collaboration and hinting at the strains that had grown too deep to overcome. His public acknowledgement of the fallout came as a surprise to fans who had noticed the absence of a new episode the previous week but were not expecting such a dramatic revelation. Dassalo's post was raw and personal, giving fans an honest look into the collapse of their once thriving partnership. "Our working relationship deteriorated to the point where a bunch of commitments were left unfulfilled," he admitted. For listeners who had been tuning in religiously, this admission was hard to swallow. Dassalo expressed his embarrassment over the situation, calling it disheartening that their shared work had reached this low point. "There's no one person at fault here, but there's also unfortunately no way forward," he continued. This sentiment resonated with the fans who had grown to love the lighthearted and consistent nature of their weekly podcast, which now appeared irreparably fractured. But Dassalo's revelation was only half the story. Not long after, Carl Chandler responded on Instagram, addressing the breakup in his own way, while taking what seemed to be a subtle jab at his former co-host. "Hey mates, sorry for the drama. Bit much, don't you reckon?" Chandler wrote, striking a more casual tone than Dassalo. However, it was clear that behind the humor, Chandler too was grappling with the breakdown of their friendship. He alluded to ongoing legal wrangling, hinting that things had become more complex than just creative differences. "Obviously I've loved the show and I've put so much into it," Chandler wrote, but added, "Would have been nice to have a normal chat with a mate instead of having legalese thrust at me out of nowhere." This revelation left fans stunned, with many expressing disappointment over how public and messy the end of the Little Dum Dum Club had become. The duo's public falling out seemed to mirror the kind of behind-the-scenes tensions that fans of the podcast had never imagined, given their seamless on-air chemistry. For over 14 years, The Little Dum Dum Club was a staple of Australian comedy podcasts, with Dassalo and Chandler often hosting some of the biggest names in comedy while riffing on everything from pop culture to their personal lives. Their popularity grew thanks to their strong rapport and witty exchanges, making it all the more difficult for their loyal listeners to accept the news of the podcast's demise. Earlier in the week, fans began to suspect something was wrong when Chandler posted a message on the podcast's official Instagram page explaining the lack of a new episode. "There's been a new episode every single week for like 14 years or whatever, so yeah, it's not very Rick," he wrote, before adding that there was trouble in paradise. Though he promised to address the issue soon, few anticipated that the fallout would result in the permanent end of the show. Dassalo followed up with his own apology, lamenting the way things had fizzled out after such a long and successful run. "It's a real shame to fizzle like this and miss episodes," he said, expressing his gratitude to their dedicated listeners who had supported the show through the years, whether by attending live shows, subscribing on Patreon, or simply shouting out their love from a moving car. As the dust settles on the unexpected end of the Little Dum Dum Club, the podcasting community is left to mourn the loss of what was once a beacon of Australian comedy. While both Dassalo and Chandler have promised to address the situation in more detail in the coming days, it's clear that their split marks the end of an era. Fans are still processing the shocking turn of events, with many hoping for a resolution that might see the two comedians work together again in the future, though for now, that seems unlikely. As one fan succinctly put it on social media, everything has to end eventually, right? But I never thought it would be like this.